Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media Podcast. And we're going to break it down today. UFC Las Vegas 4. I'm your host, Darren Campbell. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be really fantastic. You're going to love my guest today. And we get to break down one of the greatest fights UFC's ever put on, I think, and definitely fight of the year, in my opinion. It was Dustin the Diamond Poirier facing Dan the Hangman Hooker. And it didn't disappoint. Dan taking an early advantage and then Dustin coming on and taking the unanimous decision. If you haven't seen it yet, please find it on one of your local channels and watch it. I've watched it 4 times now, and I can't wait to watch 4 more. It was an incredible fight. And we've got a great guest today. I'm going to keep him secret for a minute. I'm going to bring him in a second, give him a great introduction. Yeah, great card all around. 10 fights from Vegas. The last fight in this 4-card slate in Vegas before they head off to Abu Dhabi and take a 1-week break this coming Saturday. And then July 11th with the big UFC 251 to take place with the 3 title fights on the card. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun this hour, and talking about 2 weeks from now as well. We'll look ahead a little bit to the fights there. So, yeah, I think we've got our guest coming in here. Let me just patch him in, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, yeah, it looks like I've patched him in. So, yeah, I'm going to do an intro with. And today it's going to be fun. We are in for an amazing hour breaking down UFC Vegas, Las Vegas 4. And brought to you from the BC Athletic Commission. Our analyst fighting here is a striker. He's standing 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighs in at 186 pounds. Fighting out of Vancouver, BC, we've got Stephane Cappellini. Hey, Stephane. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, thank you. You're going to pull me out of a retirement. Maybe some guys are going to call me out. Get an old guy back in there.
That would be great.
Don't know if my family will let me do it. Yeah. That's my way.
I'd pay lots of money to be there and see it. So I'll be your manager, your corner man, whatever you need, whatever you want.
All right, sounds good.
We don't have to tell your wife, do we?
She's good at finding out. When I'm training 6 hours at the gym, she might figure something's going on.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, I know you're a busy guy, so let's get right into it. Family man here. Another weekend is behind us. UFC Vegas 4. It was, man, what an amazing card. They've really put on a lot of great cards. Some of the fights didn't have very big names. This one, main event was, some good names and something to look forward to. I think fight of the year, possibly fight of all time. One of the best fights I've actually seen. Just toe-to-toe, amazing 5-round battle between Dustin the Diamond Poirier, Dan the Hangman Hooker. Tell me your thoughts. Wow, was it impressive?
Yeah, great fight. They just and a comeback as well. A little bit of a comeback. You could see that Poirier was behind, but it's just got so much heart, so much. He certainly had the potential to be pushed back in the rankings, and he wants to still be up there as a contender. And be number 1 or number 2 contender and get his title shot again. And man, what a lot of heart that he showed, and just and Dan Hooker as well. It'd be interesting to see their faces now, with a day or 2 of swelling going on there. And man, they did not shy away from attacking each other and punching each other, did they?
No, not at all. Wow. Yeah, just an amazing firefight. They both had to get into the pocket and both had to just fire. They were taking as many shots as they were giving. And like you said, definitely Hooker had the advantage early. He looked really strong, and he was keeping Dustin at distance. He was landing some really good kicks and keeping keeping Poirier off that front leg. And, I thought he took the first 2 rounds, and so did the judges. But then Dustin just turned it on and really just showed his will and his desire. And like you said, he wants another title shot. That didn't go as, good for him with Khabib, but, he's beaten so many amazing guys in that weight class. And, it's just been an impressive career for him. And wow, did he ever show the heart and will of a champ there.
Absolutely. And Hooker, while he has the length, he's got the longer arms, the longer legs, and so he could stretch them out and snap them out and keep Dustin at bay. But Dustin kept 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, and he kept moving forward. One thing I noticed, Dustin, he was throwing a lot of haymakers, but he wasn't really connecting with those. He was connecting with the punches that he was being more accurate with, and he was connecting with those, and they were doing some damage. But I was thinking, I wonder what would happen if he actually finally connected with one of these huge haymakers that he was throwing. But I don't recall him really connecting with one of those. But he chipped away with a lot of more accurate and not such wind-up punches, and it did its job. And because Hooker started to change his strategy, he actually tried to take Dustin's back. He tried to take him down. And so it was having some effect, because I think Hooker knows that Dustin's a black belt and Hooker's a blue belt. So there's quite a divide there. And he defended the guillotine choke, but he also, even in the standing position, tried to take his back. So something was happening there, and Hooker was saying, I got to change this up a little bit. And he almost got caught. He didn't. But it's great to see that they mixed it up, and it wasn't just a stand-up battle, but it was still a fantastic battle, and mostly stand-up.
Yeah, no, it was super impressive. And yeah, that moment when Hooker was trying to take his back, he was kind of on the side of him at first, and he was constantly trying to move, and Poirier was making the right, counterattack moves, so he wouldn't take his back. But, there was, it was a bit of a little dicey there for Poirier, and, getting into some tough positions. But Hooker definitely had him in trouble right at the end of the 2nd round. He was firing a lot of shots, had him up against the cage. And when the bell rang, Herb Dean stepped in, and Poirier went down. He was taking some big breaths, and it was like, wow, if it lasted a few more seconds, possibly he could have taken him out. But Poirier just went into his corner, took the advice, and turned it around. Those last 3 rounds were, really, really strong from him. I just couldn't believe the will and determination. And between one of the rounds, I think it was 4th and 5th, his corner said, "Are you having fun?" And he said, "I'm having a blast." And just for him to say that, it's amazing. You're in there having a war against the guy, and you're just having a blast. That's great. I love it when, you can hear these cornermen talking without fans in the stands. All of a sudden you can hear a lot more going on around there. And, he just loves it. This is what he loves to do. And he's really, really talented at it.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he did get hurt in the end of the 2nd round. He took some big shots, some nice combos that Hooker put together, caught him, followed up on it. And he got the bell, and perhaps he got saved the bell. You never know. With Dustin's heart, you never know. And a fighter's heart, and he's totally got that. Now, but if it was the old UFC where there wouldn't have been a bell, 25 minutes straight, right? So maybe Dustin Dan was thinking at that moment, it's like, man, I wish it was like the old UFC, because he got a break at the wrong time. And then Dustin came back right away in that 3rd round, and that can be tough on a fighter. Dan could be, blew some bunch of energy there, and then he thinks, you know what, we're going to get up off the stools, and I'm going to whack him, and I'm going to finish this. But no, Dustin Poirier comes back stronger than ever, and it might have taken a little bit of out of Hooker's confidence and his game as well. And talking about Dan Hooker trying to take his back. Yeah, well, Dustin knows what he's doing. He got up his other side up against the fence, and he just scraped him off. He wouldn't allow him to get the other hook in, because he knew then he'd be in a lot more trouble. But with just one hook in and hanging on to him like that, it wasn't a great position for him, but he knew not to let that advance any further.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. So, wow. I've been just buzzing about it all, Saturday night, all through Sunday into today. I just been excited. Couldn't wait to talk to you about it and break it down. In my opinion, fight of the year, it's going to be hard to beat that. There's amazing fights that we're going to break down at the end of this podcast, about 251 coming up in a couple of weeks. But as of now, we're halfway through the year here. The fight of the year, in my opinion, and hard to be able to beat that. Those two guys just went to war, and like you say, yeah, it'd be tough to see them today. They're going to be very beat up, bruised, cut. There's going to be some damage to their body. I saw even Poirier limping out of the cage. He looked tough. He looked in tough shape, and I think both of them had to go to the hospital. I think they were both in bad shape. They had to go. I think I saw Poirier in the ambulance.
Yeah, definitely. Those guys, they ran the test on those guys. Aside from, Poirier looked like he might have hurt his foot a little bit. He certainly didn't show it in the fight. It didn't show it. And I wonder if that was just adrenaline, that he didn't even feel it till after the fight, or just his way of not showing any weakness. But I did see that as well. He was limping, and he probably kicked the shin or kicked the knee, but certainly didn't show it during the fight.
No, you're right. Yeah, no, you're right. No, he didn't. I didn't see anything seeming to bother him too much, other than a couple calf kicks that he, just quickly shrugged off. And but yeah, anyway, let's break down some of the other card. The co-main event had Mike Platinum Perry against Mickey Gall, and Perry, had talked a lot of smack going into this. He said he didn't want cornermen. He was just going to take his girlfriend in there, and he was going to do it himself. He was going to take this guy out and show him who's better. And Perry just didn't go into just a full-on firefight blast. He actually, waited patiently for Gall to make some mistakes, and really looked impressive. Very amazing stand-up war. And even when it went to the ground, he dominated on the ground, and he showed that there's a level between him and Gall. I thought it was pretty impressive by Mike Perry.
Yeah, well, first off, okay, so he has his girlfriend in there, and we were talking about this. What an odd choice to make, have his girlfriend in there, but maybe she has a calming effect on him or something, because he was more patient. And some of these guys that are really strong and just want to go to war, we're seeing Justin Gaethje as an example of a guy that's matured and grown. And Mike Perry showed that, and maybe his girlfriend really helps him calm him down. Maybe she's the only one he listens to. I don't know. And talk about trash talk. Mickey Gall was talking some trash talk as well, so it was going back and forth. And kudos to both of them. Mickey Gall really worked on his striking game. It surprised me. He was snapping that jab out. He's connecting. But perhaps the biggest difference between those guys is strength. Mike Perry's just a beast. He's so strong. So just a really, really tough fight for a guy like Mickey Gall, who wants to get it to the ground. He doesn't want to stand up. But Mike Perry is so strong and difficult. There were, the commentators were saying, even lacking technique sometimes, and technique is huge. It's huge, but even sometimes lacking a little bit of technique, and not to say he doesn't have it. He does. He technically is really good, but even if he puts his hand in perhaps the wrong position or foot there, he can power his way through. And that was the main difference, I think, between those two, is the strength and power. There's more power in Perry's punches, and there's more strength in the manhandling. So Mickey Gall, what he wanted to do was not be on his back, because where you said Perry did really well, yeah, on the ground and pound, where Gall would have preferred to be by far is that being on top of Perry. That's where he wanted to be. But Mike Perry is just he's a gorilla. He's just so strong. And so really tough fight for Mickey Gall. And he did quite well. And and showed some improvement, but not quite there yet.
Mm. Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of these guys that come off that Contender Series, a lot of these guys that come in via Dana White's show, and they're these up and comers. They get a lot of hype, and they're said, "Oh, this is going to be the next one. This is going to be the next one." And they're coming in. He was only 6-2 coming in, only 8 professional fights. I saw him struggle against Diego Sanchez. He fought CM Punk, and CM Punk really wasn't a true UFC caliber fighter. I just didn't see Mickey Gall a really good, well-seasoned caliber fighter yet. He just didn't have the techniques I've witnessed when a guy's got a little more experience. And I thought Perry, probably would win this fight, but it was a striker versus grappler type of war, and that's always an uncertainty. Who's going to be able to take the guy down? Who's going to be able to keep standing? Is the guy going to be able to impose his will as the striker? Is the guy going to impose his will as the grappler? So I like the matchup, but I think Mickey Gall was over his head. Perry's much more experienced and much stronger, like you say. So kudos to Mickey Gall. He called him out. He did trash talk, like you were saying, for sure. But Mike Perry definitely was a better fighter that night. So.
Yeah, and then that classic kind of a fight where it's grappler versus striker, but nowadays and in the old UFC you'd see Royce Gracie just choking these guys out and stuff, and because these guys didn't know what was going on. What is this? This little skinny guy is laying on his back. Okay, I got him now. But nowadays, take a guy like Perry, that he knows that Mickey Gall wants to have it on the ground. He knows that, and he's going to prevent that. All these guys that are great strikers now are working on. They do work on their jiu-jitsu, and maybe they're not great with their submissions, but they're great at the counter, the preventing the submission.
Yeah, exactly. And takedown defense and things like that. Yeah. You got to be a well-rounded fighter these days. Like you say, back in the early days of the UFC, Royce Gracie and the Gracie family, brought in techniques that nobody had ever really seen and didn't really understand how to combat and how to defend against. And, now you have to be a well-rounded fighter. You have to be good at jiu-jitsu, striking, Muay Thai. You got to, have a lot of disciplines and skill. And I've talked about it with Scott Holborn, one of our other analysts, and he knows if a guy comes in and he has a weakness, the other guys are going to exploit it, and he doesn't really have a chance to get up to the upper echelon of any division that he's fighting in. So yeah, you're right. They just can't be lacking anymore in a discipline. And Perry showed that even though he loves standing up and just trading and banging, he's still good at takedown defense and defending anything that the other guy can throw at him. And if that guy was able to get the advantage, definitely could have went the other way. But Perry said, no, not happening. I'm taking this. And his girlfriend went off to the sunset. He didn't have to pay any money to cornerman, and they were able to celebrate in Vegas. So good for him. I want to break down some heavyweight fights. There was 2 heavyweight fights on the card, and the one on the main card was Jean Vellante against Maurice Green. Jean Vellante was moving up from light heavyweight to heavyweight, first time as a heavyweight here in the UFC, and he looked pretty strong. He looked quite good. He had a little bit around the middle that he didn't probably need, but he went in against Green, and he knocked Green down when Green threw a Superman punch and missed, and he had him down. Looked like he had a good advantage, and then all of a sudden Maurice Green pulled off a crazy choke. So, yeah, what did you think about that choke?
Yeah. Okay. So so that choke there. Okay, so Vellante does have an issue with stamina. He does have an issue with asthma as well, and because he seemed kind of tap very quickly, and he did throw down a lot of hammer fists, and maybe he exhausted himself. But the choke is a legitimate choke. But I just thought that Vellante just tapped out really quickly. It is it's a bit of a choke. It's a bit of a neck crank on the back of the neck. Great on Maurice Green, because if you remember, he fought the Russian guy. He got choked out with the Ezekiel choke. What's his name? Alexis
Olenek. Yeah,
Olenek.
Yeah.
So very similar kind of choke, and so he turned it around on Vellante. I thought that fight could have been stopped. It could have been stopped. I think it was good, obviously, that the ref didn't.
Yeah.
But I think Green was very hurt, and maybe only one or two more solid hammer fists or one good elbow, and it would have been done. But he survived, and then he sunk that in. He was very intentional with his choke. You could see he was setting it up. He was resetting his hands, and he finished it. Amazing.
Yeah, really amazing. Yeah. Did you see how emotional he was in the post-fight interview?
Yeah, I did. I saw that he was crying, and I think it's his. He steps up the ladder in the heavyweight division, and now he's going to move his whole family to Arizona and train.
No, I think it's Albuquerque with.
Albuquerque.
Winklejohn, guys.
New Mexico, the next state over. Right? Yes, Albuquerque with.
He said he drove out there. I think it was 24 hours in the car, and he did a 3-week camp with Winklejohn camp and Greg Jackson and those guys, and he was super emotional. That post-fight interview was crazy. He said he was off a 2-fight losing streak, and he was worried about his job. He might get cut. Sometimes guys get cut after 3 losses in a row, and he pulled out the amazing submission just on his back, and so much strength there, and just wouldn't quit. So it was very impressive. And earlier in the night, he got called out for possibly his next fight. Canadian Tanner Boser had a really big knockout of Lins from Brazil, and he said that they had met each other at the pool the night before, I think, and there was talk that maybe they should fight. I think they were supposed to fight in August of last year, and Boser said that he ducked him, and now he's like, I'm calling him out. So he accepted the challenge after the fight in his post-fight interview, and let's talk about a little bit about Boser's knockout. Wow, did he look impressive, the kid from Edmonton?
Yeah, Boser doesn't look like a particularly big heavyweight, but he moves really nicely. His footwork is really good. His punches were sharp. He clipped Lins on the temple at first and stunned him, and then again with a second overhand right or straight right. But he threw in some combos there, nice and sharp. Nailed him with a hook right on the jaw as well.
Oh man, was he ever accurate? I couldn't believe it. Yeah, he stunned him. It stiffened him up a little bit. Philippe Lins stiffened him, and then I could see that Boser was like, okay, it's time to pull the bulldozer out and knock this guy out and finish him off. And it was a fantastic knockout. Lins was out for a while, and some of the accuracy of his punches were phenomenal, and hammer fists on the ground, and made sure he wasn't getting up. And I think it was Herb Dean too had to pull him off, and it was pretty hard when heavyweight's there on top of the other guy. He had to really maneuver him and pull him off there, but it was great. And then in his post-fight interview, he was a funny guy. He was asking for more money because he said he saved the UFC fight bonus money from Lins, and he said, give me a little tip if you can, and he was calling out Maurice Green, and it was fun. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him again.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if he'll try to make 205. But I think, when you look at his body, you think he's not huge for the heavyweight division. especially with some of the massive guys coming in the last few years. But he does move very well. He moves a little bit like the Santos used to move.
Junior,
So Junior's a little bit bigger though, and I think, but and you can see that Boser does. He could probably lose a little bit around the waist. Maybe he can make 205, but he looks super sharp. Really nice striking. And so maybe that's his weight class. Maybe heavyweight's where he should stay. And it'll be interesting to see. Maybe they'll set up that fight. Maurice Greene and him. He's going to have to deal with a guy that's got a lot of length and maybe growing a lot in confidence right now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Lynn said he was 10 pounds less for this fight than last. Usually comes in a little bit heavier. He thought he wanted to get faster, and it seemed to help him on this fight. So we'll see what he decides to do. But yeah, it was great to see him. He had the mullet too, which is a great Canadian tradition, and there's not that many mullets out there anymore. But he was sporting that, and to get the big KO, it was fast, and it was great to see, and I'm glad he called out somebody. Hopefully they put him on Fight Island coming up pretty soon, and I hope he doesn't have to wait too long. He didn't take any damage, so why not? And let's get into a few more of the fights on the card. We were talking a little earlier, and you were talking about the Darce choke between Julian Erosa and Sean Woodson. Woodson came in a 7-0 undefeated fighter. Erosa's a lot more experienced, 24-8 coming into the fight. That Darce choke was super impressive, and he just worked and finally got that submission. How did you see it?
Yeah, well, I saw Woodson a little bit ahead in the first 2 rounds. In the 3rd round, Erosa would just not get out of his face, and he wanted to sit there and bang. And it seemed to be having a bit of an effect on Woodson. But I think that great work by Erosa. Because I think he figured, I got to get a finish, and I might not get to win this. I might need to get a finish, and I'm going to get this guy with the submission. So he did take Woodson down. Woodson got back up, as far as I recall, got back up on his feet, but Erosa would not let go of that choke. Of the Darce choke. He dragged him back down like a bull, grabbing the bull by its horns, dropped him back down, and then sunk it in. So great work by him by not letting go of that. Looked like he was losing it, but he kept hanging on to, sunk it in deeper. And as we were talking about, it might be the new way that these jiu-jitsu guys will have to fight, or a well-rounded MMA guy when he's up against a better striker with really good takedown defense, is start the submission from the feet. And that's what he did. He started the submission from the feet, dragged him down, and finished it off.
Yeah, I'm surprised that that hasn't been done for a lot of these submission guys earlier. A lot of submission guys I see, they fall on their back and they try to bring the guy down to them. They don't seem to try to start the submission standing, and they avoid that. They'll even give up the advantage to finally turn it around and do a sweep and get on top of them. But why not? Why not just attack the guy, keep on him, start getting on him, and bring the submission to the ground and finish it off. Let's see that evolution. I can't see why it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, pulling guard like that in the UFC is not the best strategy. I mean, it might work in Abu Dhabi, it might work at these jiu-jitsu tournaments, but those guys are allowed to hammer fist you in the face at the same time. So this strategy of dragging them down like that and while sinking in the choke on the feet, I wonder if some light bulbs went off and some of these jiu-jitsu guys are just guys that are well-rounded fighters, as you say, but have a great jiu-jitsu game and are losing a bit on the feet. Maybe this is a new evolution of the grappler.
I hope so. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, very amazing. How much of the Takashi Sato Jason Witt fight did you see? Were you able to see that knockout? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I remember it. Wasn't much to remember. It was very quick.
Yeah, 48 seconds, I think. Yeah, very quick.
Yeah, he got clipped. He got clipped, got hurt, and it was over. And that was it. And it's funny because what's his name? Tashashi?
Takashi Sato.
Takashi, aggressive fighter,
Yeah.
but he just waited for his time, clipped him, and finished him off. You didn't see a lot of aggression other than the finish. He got the taste of blood and just finished it off. So it's supposed to be an aggressive fighter, but we just didn't quite see that.
Yeah. Well, this guy, Jason Witt, he's called the Vanilla Gorilla. There's another guy that has that nickname too, but he's the new Vanilla Gorilla, I guess. He's from the James Krause camp. He came in 17-5 underdog. He only actually found out about the fight on Thursday, gets on a plane the next morning, flies to Vegas, weighs in, and then has to fight the next day. So, it's tough. I don't know how much shape he was in, if he was, training for an upcoming fight that was coming fairly soon. It's tough to get that short a notice and have to be fighting a guy. Takashi's from Henry Hooft camp, and those guys are just amazing kickboxers and strikers. And I feel a little bit sad for a guy that gets 2 days notice and suddenly has to be making his UFC debut. It can be tough.
Yeah, well, I think he deserves a second chance then.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the cage very long, the octagon very long. So, but hey, he did the UFC a favor, and he definitely deserves another shot to prove himself.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So another fight that was pretty impressive was the Luis Pena, the Violent Bob Ross against Kama Worthy. Worthy looked pretty impressive with his submission win. What were your thoughts about that fight?
Yeah, just two guys that are really hungry and coming up. And there's, when I figured this years ago, where MMA was still kind of in its, I wouldn't say infancy, maybe in its teenage years, but we're just getting so much diversity now, which is wonderful. In the past, it was great to see, we've got a boxer versus a judo guy and such, but now, now you get guys that train everything, but the main staples are obviously the wrestling, the boxing, Muay Thai, and the jiu-jitsu. And it's just great to see that we're seeing all kinds of guys super well-rounded, and also all kinds of different finishes again.
Yeah, no, it's really neat. So much different evolutions, and we see some guys that come into the UFC and all of a sudden bring something different, and then all of a sudden everybody tries to jump on and utilize it and put it into their game. But it's so that's why mixed martial arts is such a fascinating, amazing sport, because there are so many fighting disciplines around the world. This has become a global sport, and it's so phenomenal to see suddenly somebody come in and utilize different types of submission moves. They're trying to utilize things out of their discipline. It could be karate, could be judo, could be sambo from Russia, could be something from all different countries around the world that they train at. It makes it fascinating and phenomenal for me. I think that's why it is the fastest growing sport in the world and something to watch. So I really love that fight. I was pretty impressed with his nickname is the Death Star, modified guillotine choke. I think that was his 7th win in a row now. So, wow, pretty darn impressive. He was preparing for Michael Johnson, and this guy came in with a different skill set. So, yeah, that's always a difficult transition. Suddenly you have to fight a fighter that you weren't preparing for. But, he looked really good. And that was a really entertaining fight. It went far, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, as we're saying, just see the difference in styles. Yet everybody's kind of doing this MMA, but the different techniques, a little bit different styles, incorporated karate and taekwondo, and even all these martial arts. They have things that can be useful. A lot of it now, because it gets really tested, in the octagon. Jiu-jitsu's always been really tested, but there are techniques that don't really work that well when you're getting hammer fists, inverted guard, or you don't particularly want to be there unless you are forced to be in there. So again, it works in a jiu-jitsu tournament, karate, taekwondo. They have their tournaments, but when you put it into the UFC, originally they had a really tough time. If you modify these martial arts and take what's good from them, really great. Even boxing, all of that. Boxing, some boxers like to turn their back when they're up against the rope, and then, hey, he's hitting me in the back. And there's a particular fighter that likes to do that. That wouldn't work in the UFC. But all these sports have modified a little bit, and they become a lot more honest.
Yeah, good points. Yeah, very good points. I agree. Yeah, it makes you have to be very honest. So yeah, I did want to touch on a couple more fights. There's only 2 more fights on this card. The youngest female fighter on the UFC roster was fighting. She was fighting another Invicta champion that had come in through that division, a really great women's mixed martial arts organization. Kay Hansen is her name, and she fought Jin Yu Fry. Kay Hansen said her reasoning for getting into the UFC was Ronda Rousey, her hero growing up. And she did her proud with an armbar, and was pretty impressive with that submission in the 3rd round, about halfway through the 3rd round.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are the rounds they say are harder to get an arm bar and probably easier to get a rear naked choke. But when the body is all wet, easier to slip in that choke, but to get the arm bar is easier for the person countering it to slip it out. But fantastic that she was able to pull that off.
Yeah, no, it was really great. And at such a young age, I guess she's training out of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and Eddie Bravo, as part of that. I think she's works out of 2 of the California gyms for 10th Planet. And I think she has a bright future. She looked very calm and impressive for a 20-year-old. And it was really great to see. And I saw some tweets on the corner of the screen from Ronda Rousey, and then I think Ronda reached out to her and, gave her a personal congratulations. And it must be really exciting for, such a young person who, you go in, impress your idol enough that they're going to reach out and give you a call. That must be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Ronda Rousey was in her day, in her prime there, perhaps the biggest star in the UFC, and that was shortly after Dana White and the Furtado brothers allowing women to and opening up the women's division, where originally they said they were never, when pigs fly or something. So great, awesome. And 10th Planet, that's exciting. That's another evolution of the jiu-jitsu game that I don't think the Gracies in the beginning weren't too excited about. But Eddie Bravo was saying, I'm gonna make a style of jiu-jitsu that you don't need the gi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Eddie Bravo, he gets an incredible amount of credit because he's trained, a really, really amazing array of fighters, and it puts a different spin on the jiu-jitsu. Definitely, jiu-jitsu has evolved so much, since the early days of the UFC. Only whatever it was, 93, I think it is, 94. So it's a young sport, but the evolution of it's impressive, and there's a lot of guys that are able to take it and grow it, and help these young fighters come into the UFC and pull off impressive wins. And I'm looking forward to seeing her some more. And the first fight of the night, Jordan Griffin against Yusuf Zalal, went to a decision. Back and forth. Zalal's called the Moroccan Devil. He looked very impressive, and I thought there was a lot of really great scrambles, a lot of nice takedowns. It was pretty impressive fight. Do you remember too much about the first fight of the night?
Yeah, I saw it. I was just getting into the house on that fight. So, but I saw a little bit. I'm just looking at these guys right now and their stats and stuff. But yeah, just it's nice to see those up and down fights. I mean, I love seeing the striking as well. But we're not watching boxing. We're not watching glory here. It's nice to see the what was originally pancration, from the old Olympics there. Of everything mixed up together. Mostly a striking, still a lot of striking. For a lot of people, that's a lot easier to understand and a lot more entertaining. Yeah. But I think it's UFC. So, when guys throw in the takedowns and submission attempts and then and don't sit on each other, but get back up on their feet and start scrapping it out, that makes it a lot of fun.
Sure does. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I enjoyed that card top to bottom. 10 great fights, amazing night. Right from that fight that we just broke down all the way to the main event, I enjoyed all of the fights, and it opened up some new contenders that they're coming into the UFC. It showed some of the veterans, that they are able to keep on their career and moving up the ranks. And it was really, really fun. So yeah, I'm glad we could break that down. Why don't we just briefly touch on the next card that's coming up? You and I'll break it down in a couple weeks, but July 11th is our next UFC card. It's UFC 251, headlined by Kamaru Usman against Gilbert Burns for the welterweight championship. That fight to me is going to be just amazing. There are three title fights on the card, but why don't we break down Usman Burns a little bit? What are your thoughts?
Are we going to go through predictions?
Sure, if you'd like. Yeah, why not? Yeah, do it.
Wow. I think that
you put your own self on the spot.
I know. I'm almost regretting it right now. I think I'm going to go with Burns.
Oh, wow.
I think so. Impressive. I think Burns is his hands are very fast. I think he's got power. Got some power in those hands. And also he's got an excellent ground game.
Yeah.
Now, Usman's great at wrestling, great takedown defense. I think Burns might even be actually faster, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he could be. Yeah. I mean, the last few fights I've seen him, he's quick as anybody in that division.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a close fight, though.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go the distance.
Okay.
I think it's going to go to a decision.
All right. Well, I'll take Usman. We'll be able to fight it out later on after it. But yeah, I'll take Usman. I think he's had a meteoric rise up to the top of that division and has knocked down all comers. And we'll see what he can pull off with Burns. Burns is a thicker guy. Probably more power. But I think Usman's got everything that he's been faced so far. He's been able to come up with an answer and be able to knock guys out. Take the title. So yeah, it's you got to wrestle the title away from the champ, and sometimes we see guys put on really good efforts, but they just can't really take the belt. So that'll be fantastic. I'm super looking forward to that. The featherweight co-main event has Volkanovski Holloway 2. Volkanovski really was dominant in that first performance against Holloway, and I'm surprised. I didn't think Holloway could be dominant like that from somebody in his his own weight class like that. And Volkanovski showed that. I don't know how Holloway's going to change his game plan and beat him, but what are your thoughts?
I see it going the same way. I think Holloway has been a great champion, really likable guy. So it'd be nice for him to come out with a victory. Yeah. But I also think he's come. I don't know if he's plateaued and he had a rough fight with Poirier. He moved up in weight class. He had a tough fight there. He got his bell rung a few times. But you never know with a guy that he's skilled and tons of heart.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
But I think I think he's going to come out with a loss on that one again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Holloway comes from Hawaii, fights daily there. And he had a tough upbringing in Hawaii, but, the Blessed era was phenomenal. What a meteoric rise for him as well. Just, knocking off all comers, just surprising a lot of people on, some of the fights that they thought he would be super challenged with. And, he took way too much damage against Poirier, and, that's hard to recover from that. We'll see if he can change his game plan and beat Volkanovski. See if Volkanovski's going to bring the exact same thing. Maybe he'll change too. But it's an interesting fight. I'm glad Holloway's getting an opportunity to right the wrong, and I'm super looking forward to it. So, and the third title fight on the card is Peter Yan against Jose Aldo. A lot of people are a little angry that Jose's getting this opportunity on his reputation from the past, but I think he's still pretty great fighter. But I don't know. I don't know if he can take Yan out. Yan has just been too strong, and I don't know. I think he's probably going to take it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you on that one. I think Jose still he's getting now he's one of the older fighters, and at that weight class generally they retire a little bit younger, and be nice, but again I think he won't be able to. I don't think he's got it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's two more fights on that card, on the main card. Jessica Andrade, Rose Namajunas, and Amanda Ribas and Paige Van Zandt. Great female fights. Those two battles are going to be great. First one from Andrade and Namajunas is strawweight division. Flyweights, Ribas and Van Zandt. Van Zandt was saying it's the first time she's ever been on a pay-per-view. That's pretty surprising. She's fighting in her last UFC fight. She made some really interesting comments this past week that she said she made more on Dancing with the Stars than she's made in her whole entire UFC career. So she's hoping to get paid a bit more, and she's becoming a free agent. We'll see if she can win this fight. Maybe she's going to get paid from this organization or another. We'll see.
Yeah, well, I think you and I have, and I think a lot of people have heard that the UFC, it is the top MMA organization, absolutely, by far, but they don't have the reputation of paying their fighters a lot of money. So maybe that'll change. Hopefully, I'd like to see them get a little bit more money.
Thanks so much for breaking down that card. Thanks very much for breaking down this UFC Vegas card. Wow, I was super impressed. All those 4 cards in Vegas over this past month have been really great. We get a 1 week break this next Saturday, and then we're back into Abu Dhabi Fight Island. I'm glad the UFC is pulling off this Fight Island. A lot of people were speculating that it was somewhere in the Pacific, then it was over here, then it was somewhere in the tropics. But they kept it secret for quite a while, and then they finally said, no, it's in Abu Dhabi. They've had 3 events there over the years, but supposedly they can do a 10-mile quarantine zone. They can be in their own bubble. They can have everything there, and for those 2 weeks, everybody that needs to be there can be there, and people coming in and out, they're going to get stringently tested for COVID and everything. There have been a few fighters testing positive for COVID, but it hasn't derailed any of the cards so far, and I think it's really smart for them to put on these next 4 cards in that bubble.
Yeah, and we talked about that Fight Island a little bit earlier today, which and I totally imagined that it would be on this island with one palm tree or something, some deserted island. I thought, wow, that's going to be really cool to see that visually. Yeah. And I was hoping it was going to be outside, but we're talking now Abu Dhabi. So what kind of temperatures are we going to be talking? In 40 Celsius, in the hundreds Fahrenheit?
Yeah. Well, I've heard this, and I haven't got it confirmed yet. I'm hoping to over the next couple of days, but I heard that the main card starts at 6 a.m. in Abu Dhabi so that it can be on prime time here in North America. So, and they can get away from the heat. So we'll see if that's true. I heard the main card starts at 6, and that'll be Paige Van Zandt fighting at 6 a.m. in the morning, and trying to put it on before the heat really kicks in. It'll still be close to 100 degrees, I hear, at 6 a.m., but But yeah, you're right. Holy cow, the heat's going to be insane. And the UFC was releasing pictures of this fight island, and it had the palm tree, the one palm tree on a little tiny island, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, this is going to be phenomenal!" And it was pretty exciting. They really did it up well with those with the swag and the T-shirts and stuff. But Abu Dhabi inside an arena early though, 6 a.m. What are your thoughts about 6 a.m.? That's going to be hard to get ready for fighters.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't work very well for me. I'm not an early riser, and so it takes me a while to wake up. So whoever's an early riser here is going to do, might be doing the best there. So it's 6 a.m. Is that Pacific time?
Yeah, I think it is. I think so. Yeah, I think that's what, because he was.
No,
I heard
no.
somebody saying that she's from Oregon. Paige Van Zant's from Oregon, and I think they were talking about that she might not get jet lag because she can go over there and still stay on the same timeline that she's here and wake up early and go. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's Pacific time or Eastern time. We'll have to find that out.
Well, so for it to make sense, it would have to be 6 a.m. there in Abu Dhabi. So
Yeah,
that
6 a.m. in Abu Dhabi. So I don't know how many hours difference are they. Do you know?
I don't. I don't know. We're probably looking about 9 or 10 hour difference.
Yeah.
I would guess. Yeah. Well, whoever. So still, I mean, they should try to get there a little early, get rid of the jet lag. You know, maybe a week or two early, and acclimate themselves not only to the climate but also getting up much earlier and being much more alert and ready at that time of day. But yeah, the fight island, so it'll be indoors. Too bad. I would have loved to have seen it outside, but it just logistically doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, maybe one day they'll throw us a bone and do that somewhere in the tropics, somewhere nice where everybody can go and they can have fans on a desert island. That'd be pretty fantastic. But I know Dana White said he doesn't like the logistics of fighting outside. Their Mother Nature, can really throw up something, and all of a sudden, the whole card's off the table because they're in a violent thunderstorm or rain or something crazy. And in Abu Dhabi, it's just heat and I'm sure sandstorms and crazy stuff like that. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that wouldn't be great, rolling around or fighting in 40-degree weather and then a sandstorm covered in sand sticking to you. I know they've done it with boxing. I think they have in like places like Texas and probably Puerto Rico. They have some outdoor boxing events, and it looks really cool. But yeah, it's just not camera and lighting. Probably not it can create also a lot of difficulties, and just the sand on the cameras too.
Yeah,
terrible.
Yeah, look up some old Bodog fights. They were fighting on an island. I went to a couple of those events, and in California they have down in LA they have a outdoor boxing venue that I've been to on a bunch of occasions, and it's great. It's phenomenal. Really, really fun to be outdoors. Obviously they had that fight where Fan Man came in Vegas. He almost made it into the ring, and they had to stop that heavyweight fight back in the day. So, it's logistically possible, but, I think Dana White doesn't want something to derail the whole entire card, and then everybody's asking for their money back, and, it costs a lot to reschedule something. So, yeah, but let's hope they can pull something off down in the future. But hey, man, this was awesome as usual. I was glad to have you on. I know you're a busy guy, so I'll send you on your way to your family and for your rest of your week. But let's do this. 2 weeks from now, when that fight happens, let's do it. Break it down. I really look forward to it, and let's keep in touch. Thanks,
Absolutely,
man.
absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was great talking to you about the fights.
We'll talk soon. Take care. All right.
All right. Ciao for now.
Yeah, that was great. It's always amazing to break down fights, especially such a great card like that. Dan Hooker and Dustin Poirier, put on a performance that I'm going to be talking about for weeks, probably months, maybe even years. That was something to behold, and it's great to have somebody that can come in and bring his expertise and a lot of information and break it down. So yeah, thanks for joining us. It was a very, very fast hour for me. Went by quick. Looking forward to this UFC 251. I hope you are too. This card was great, but holy cow, three title fights. We're not blessed with that very often from the UFC, and it's something that we're going to get excited about. I've got some great resident MMA analysts like Stephane there. Obviously, you guys have seen Scott and Jason Cameron. I'm going to be bringing in some fighters very soon as well, and people that you recognize. Yeah, I want to get Forrest Griffin on here. Forrest sent me an amazing message recently, giving me some encouragement to get this podcast really up and going, and I'm going to show you that very soon. And I think Forrest, blessed me with his presence. He was able to have an award named after him, and Dustin Diamond Poirier, they just mentioned this past Saturday that he was the first recipient of it, and he's going to get presented with it at the UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony coming up later on this year. Forrest Griffin is a Hall of Famer, and they named this humanitarian award after Forrest. Can't wait to congratulate him in person, but congratulations, Forrest. You've forged yourself an incredible career. You've been nothing but a great guy, and I know how much you do help out in the community. For you to send me a video, wishing me the best, and telling me that you'd listen if I covered some MMA, I was really thrilled, and I can't wait to see you in person, shake your hand, congratulate you on so many things, and thanks a lot. You've given me so much support and so much help to get this going. So I'm just thrilled that this hour. It was fantastic as usual. Stephane is great, and tune in every week after the UFC cards. We'll have Stephane coming on, and maybe we can coax him out of retirement. Maybe I can be his corner man. I miss cornering guys, and him and I are working with the BC Athletic Commission in the boxing vein right now. And he was on that UFC Vancouver card wearing the shirt. He was in the cage there. He's fantastic former athlete and amazing analyst. So keep tuning in to Complete Sports Media, and we're breaking it down week after week after week. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Love you. Bye for now.